Hey, what's up guys, it's Oakley, and we're going to be playing a free-for-all battle. This is going to be freaking awesome. I am the Lizardmen here with Krokgar and a whole bunch of other troops sallying forth. So, free-for-all, if you don't know, is going to be, well, obviously on these customized maps. We can pop it open, where everyone deploys kind of symmetrically in a circle here, and has to fight to kill the other players. So, you have score... obviously your scoreboard on the left, and it goes up based on how much damage you do, and the last man standing gets an additional bonus in terms of points. So I'm going to be deploying over here on the far right side. I have a couple of these skink cohorts up front just to help act as cannon fodder. I have a revivification crystal and 2 feral bastildons just by themselves, backed up by a core of Saurus warriors with shields. So they're going to be pushing up here my Aztec dinosaur warriors. Looking very glorious, and then right behind them I have some more support crew. So I have a chameleon skink and a pterodon rider with fire leech bolas. I did want a little bit of range support, so they're going to be pushing up on the far right, backed up by 2 cold one riders. And then I do have some more skinks actually hidden over in the forest here that I will be unveiling soon, so they're going to be popping out and scurrying across the battlefield. Now I'm set up here between 2 different elven forces. On the right, Turan is going to be deploying with the Dark Elves, so he has a front line of Black Art Crusaders intermixed between Blackguard of Nagaron, so that is a pretty good counter to the Lizardmen. Blackguard of Nagaron obviously having a lot of ability to hold some of the larger monsters, whereas the Black Art Corsairs are good at anti-infantry, so they can tear up kind of the traditional skinks and Saurus warriors. So I'm going to need a big busting crew to get through this, but in the rear he does have these Cold One Knights, which are excellent. A monster gets through here, these guys just charge in, tie them down, and then they get ripped apart by these Dark Shard, and here with shields, so a lot of sustainability. So this is a really good build, and he has Malekith. So it looks like he's mostly customized against my Lizardmen, and he's going to be facing off in my direction. However, continuing to go around the circle is going to be Dumon playing as the Skaven here. He has a lot of troops on the battlefield. A Helped Abomination with a bunch of clan rat spears pushing up through the center, and some clan rats, so a lot of fodder units to choke up the spears of the High Elves. He has some rat ogres behind that, some storm vermin with halberds, and then he's got 2 lords, a plague priest, and then quick head taker himself, as well as some more hidden units that I hadn't realized were in the battle before. Some night runners going to be going around behind Indy's lines, and that's kind of what's interesting about this map, the fact that you have a lot of players kind of knifing each other in the back, and it's something that you'll see here happening with Skaven, which is awesome. Finally, the last army is going to be Indy Pride himself. The front is going to be held by spearmen, so that's going to be hard to bust through for the kind of standard forces of Skaven. But then again, he does have an entire army on his right flank to worry about. And then in the back he has some archers with light armor, some more Phoenix Guard, and in the back he has this little Doom Squad, 2 nobles, and Tyrion. In any case, what I was doing is I was posturing up front. My lizards are scrambling. I'm trying to dodge here some of the shots coming in from Malekith, and I'm going to move forward with my chameleon skinks. These guys are really quick, versatile, and they can really chew through enemy lords if you let them get too close. So they're pushing up just here to ward off Malekith, and we have a very interesting situation going on here where everyone is kind of posturing and getting at a standstill. I really want to go and hit Indy's side, but if I do that, the Dark Elves can double team me, so we're trying to decide who to engage where. So yeah, we have a nice little face-off here, and my guy here doing a little bit of the posturing, showing his ass to the Dark Elves, showing them what I think of them. Krokgar also taunting them as well. But the battle will soon get underway. Looks like the first engagement is going to be on this front as Indy Pride moves forward, tries to rack up some points. So the High Elves are going to be firing away, and I love the reload animations on these guys. Firing at the clan rats, moving forward aggressively with his spears. They're going to form up and actually charge into this blob before the rest of the support can come in. So there he goes. Only back the clan rats. A lot more units are coming in, but they're mostly disjointed, some of them being distracted by the Dark Elves who are threatening to hit them in the back. But what is going to happen now is he's forced to ram right through this force. And Indy's actually bringing back some guys. He had a goon squad of lords pushing around the flank, but they were ambushed by some of the night runners with slings and other types of I think there's ninja stars back here. If you look at the other one, yeah, these night runners have little ninja stars that they can throw. So anyways, Indy was thrown back, but his main force here is going to be able to hold pretty handily the first rank, and then this Helped Abomination is going to start melting. This is getting Indy way ahead in terms of the leaderboard here, so he's raking in the free kills. This monster really needs to be pulled up. Anyways, on this side we're having a bit of posturing. I am pushing back Malekith, and what I've had over here is some of my skinks, chameleon skinks, have been run down by some of these dark riders. They don't get too many kills before I kind of bringing some units on the flank to deal with them and ward them off. I have a lot of units here. Malekith is going to cast one of his abilities. It's going to do a little bit of damage, but mostly slow down my guys. Yeah, you can see not too much damage, some of it being dealt to the Temple Guard, but overall I'm okay, although it does net him a little bit more kills. Meanwhile, over here, I don't really want to engage. I'm threatening to hit Indy in the back, but again, anything I push through here may get hit by the Dark Elves. I'm not quite ready to deal with them. On this flank, I do kind of want to charge in with the Skink cohort. They are here just to soak up and tie down the enemy while I get my chameleon skinks nearby. And again, I'm going to continue to posture and just force back Malekith. The enemy bows have not begun to fire just yet. They're going to try and take aim at Kroq-Gar, get some early shots off at him. And I'm going to pull up with my skink cohorts and other units here to ward back Malekith, who's using some breath spells against the chameleon skinks. But again, like I keep saying, he's going to be warded off, especially with these fire leech bolas. He does get a little bit of a wind spell against me, so starting to rake up some points, whereas I haven't done too much in this engagement. But I'm going to be waiting to get underway, posturing with my dinos, and on the right, really forcing back these Dark Riders because I want to push that flank, and I'm holding back with some of my Cold One Riders as well to try and push through some of his vulnerable places and get through to the archers. So while that's going on, Indy Pride is having a hell of a mess on this front, holding back the Skaven with his spears, as you can see here, rather gloriously. The Helpit Abomination was taken down in the center, so that netted him a ton of points. He's up to 4k. And we'll see if that holds, because we're going to have to send some of our guys, perhaps call a truce and turn on Indy. That's some of the dynamics you'll be seeing in this game. Rat Ogre's coming here to clobber through the enemy, but the Phoenix Guard are in here, although luckily they were hit with a Wither spell, which takes away some of your armor. So yeah, this is a lot of vulnerable archers that I should have probably committed some of my Cold One Riders right over here and hit them in the back, but luckily Indy did have some spearmen to guard against that eventuality. So back to our front. Continuing to posture, Chameleon Skink's going to be holding the front. Kroq-Gar here just standing firm, not quite willing to engage against the enemy. I'm trying to bust a hole through the front against these Black Art Crusaders. Kroq-Gar here going to start to take some damage, and here it looks like the ability is going to be procced for the Dark Elves. Now, one of the things you have to notice is, actually, it's really interesting the way this works. So, martial prowess normally is supposed to get procced when a certain amount of enemy are killed. So, presumably, you know, it's the Dark Elves doing the damage. But in free-for-all, it's interesting. It can happen even though the Dark Elves didn't do the killing themselves. So, if a lot of deaths have been occurring just in general, that will go towards the counter for the Dark Elves. So, they can get it popped here. And actually, in this instance, it's not very good for them because it's getting popped prematurely before there's even a battle underway. There is a little bit of a battle here where my skink cohort, who was not doing so well, has been reinforced by a feral Bastillodon, and that's really helping to push back these guys. Meanwhile, Chameleon Skink's just pushing forward and really doing a lot of damage to his Black Art Corsairs. I'm going to pop in with some other skink cohorts here to get in and hit these Black Guard of Nagarond, just try and keep them away from my feral Bastillodon, and again, like I said, open up some possibilities. I'm going to continue to pull out on the right and allow my Temple Guard to tie that down and try and push through the weakened center. These Chameleon Skinks being very helpful, and then the Fire Leech Bola is also coming in to reinforce. You can see here my damage has popped all the way up. I'm above Dumont and Turan with a lot of the early damage that I've done with my Chameleon Skinks against Malekith and other forces, and sniping some of his high tier guys. So I'm pretty happy with how this is going. Scoreboard seems to be going in my direction, although Indy has a big lead on us, and he's continuing to clean up the Skaven. By the end of things, he may be a bit overrun. But I think he does pretty much have it in the bag. His lords are going to come back and help to save this. A lot of damage being done, though. And yeah, here you go. My Fire Leech Bolas were able to pull Malekith away. And over in the center, two of my big monsters have been forced to rampage, and they're going to be focus fired by those Dark Shards. They are pain in my ass. I really need to bring forces away. Meanwhile, Kroq-Gar is going to be isolated in the center, but I'm just going to pull him out of here. Sacred Spawning of Zodal here, going to give him more physical resistance, allow him to pull out of that engagement, and he's taking a lot of fire, but that's fire that has distracted the enemy, while I'm going to start to push up through the center and try and hit his guys. I also have the Revivification Crystal that can just get me back up to speed, so I'm not too worried. Chameleon Skinks being in here for support. Pulling out these Black Guard of Nagaron is very important because now I can focus fire and chew them apart. And then Kroq-Gar here is fast enough to get around the flanks. Some Dark Elves are engaging against Cold One Riders. I would like to engage with them, but I don't have any troops to counter that. Meanwhile, my Cold One Riders are trying to skirt around to his archers. That is the soft underbelly that I like to get to, but he's always cycling around with some Black Guard of Nagaron to defend them on that flank and over here. Although the Chameleon Skinks are taking their toll against Malekith, he's going down, and martial prowess has run out, as you may have noticed. Lots of spells going off here as well. Soul Stealer, Malekith is going to try and get back up to health, and I don't have extreme range to be able to take him out, so that could be pretty punishing. Damage-wise, I've dropped below Turan. He's starting to chew through my warriors, especially in the center here, and all the damage being put on that Feral Illidan is getting him a lot of points. So yeah, this is pretty awesome, and here comes Malekith against the Source Warriors, trying to tie me down, but I will be able to finally push through with Kroq-Gar past these Black Guard of Nagaron, just tear through and finally get at his archers. That is what I was trying to do. I even have some of my Pterodon Riders with Fire Leech Bolas getting in here, and that's going to pop me back up in terms of points as well, though Turan is starting to get the lead. On this front, Skaven is being cleaned up. Indy gets out of that battle with about 8k worth of points. That's compared to 6,700 for Turan and my 6,300 at this point. I do get a Cold One Rider who's about to get in on his Dark Shards, although a nice spell here gets in on me and slows me down before I can clean up these guys. Pterodon Riders also coming in. In the main line, actually, I have still some Chameleon Skinks who are just holding down the line, allowing my other Chameleon Skinks to really fire into them. So these guys are great at harass, taking high-value units if you can skirmish them. In the center, I am kind of getting the advantage with my Saurus Warriors and reinforcing Saurus Warriors on the flank who can get in here. So the main line is kind of going in my way, and so we're teetering in terms of points. Another spell being popped here, and he's finally cut off with my archers. Kroq-Gar is getting a little bit pulled out of position, but I really want to just see those guys off. Meanwhile, Malekith is going to circle back into the center and deal with these Pterodon Riders, but also expose himself to perhaps some charge of my Skinks. That's why I'm pulling these guys around to perhaps start to do some damage. Meanwhile, Indy is now at 10k with the cleaning up operations, and he's even spotted one of my Feral Bastillodons who's currently exhausted and routing. This is some free damage that he can just rake up by putting some arrow fire into it. Back to the side for the battle. Kroq-Gar in the back is really dealing with those Dark Shards, pulling me back in the lead again. So, like I said, it's a nice big back and forth. So this is super close. And a lot of that being me doing damage to these high-value units with these Chameleon Skins. I really think they're worth it. I mean, they're going to help me shatter these Blackheart Corsairs. And then in the center, take a look at these roving death squads. Going to be moving up, just running around, and they should be able to get some flank shots into these other units to help rally my Saurus Warriors. But a lot of damage being put on here, a lot of these Dark Shards turning about to focus fire on Kroq-Gar, and he's being zoned out. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to pull out of this battlefield. I'm being zoned out by Malekith, ranged units, and also these Black Guard of Nagaron. So I'm a little bit scared, so I'm pulling way out. Going to try and come back in. Chameleon Skinks here to reinforce. Going to be here to bait Malekith into engagement with the Saurus Warriors, and then pull out, deal with these rampaging troops, and just continue to fire into them. Still in the lead by a couple hundred points over Turan, so the battle is going my way. The Revivification Crystal was routing. I need to bring it back to help buff up, presumably my Temple Guards and other units. So there you go, I'm pulling it back around. I'm going to try and heal these guys back up. But now we're facing the threat of Indie Pride coming back around, bearing down on us when we're neck and neck with 1,200 kills. And so I believe we're going to try and call a truce at this point and salvage what we have of our forces to turn back on Indie Pride. So in order to do that, I'm going to pull back and kind of cede the center ground here. Turan has actually pulled over with some Dark Shards with shields over here in the forest. So that's a nice way to force Indy's guys back. He got a bit too impetuous with his main line and yielded the forest. Would have been better for him to come at us through the forest, but he's going to get shot out from the flank. I'm pulling back into the forest here, recouping my losses, licking my wounds, and as the last bit of that kind of untangling, Turan did get the lead over me by 100 points. I think it's the last couple troops here being seen off. And yeah, Kroq-Gar does run the gauntlet through these troops, makes his way back. He's going to try and charge into the back of these Dread Spears just to shatter this unit and free my guys up. So you can see here, kind of knocking them about. I'm getting some shots on by lots of Indy's guys. But yeah, I'm just going to pull on out of here. I know I can't take this engagement. I'm going to allow Turan to sacrifice himself into Indie Pride. But yeah, it's at this point in the chat that we were in the TeamSpeak, we were just going to say, or sorry, not TeamSpeak, just the group chat that we were in, we're going to call a truce. So that's why you can see him pulling off to that side and me pulling off to my side, just so we don't fight too many of our own forces. But I figured I'd be a little bit cheeky about it. I mean, these Black Art Corsairs are on the verge of routing, so who cares if I just take a little nibble and get a couple more points in through here. They're routing units anyways. What does it matter if I charge them? So there we go. I'm going to pounce in there and get a couple more points, try and eke my way back up to Turan's level, and I do get a nice little ambush on Indy's guys. His Phoenix Guard are going to charge in to reinforce. Temple Guard are up here. I'm going to swivel them around the back to try and get at his archers, which are pretty vulnerable at this point. So I'm starting to get up in terms of the points. As I said, a lot of my guys are going to be coming back around, especially some of my monsters. The Illidan with the Revivification Crystal here, able to pop some more healing on my guys, and I'm going to see off these archers. However, Indy does have this death squad rolling around with Turan as well as 2 Elven Princes mounted, and they're going to be very good, especially for countering units like Krokkar. Have some nice armor piercing and bonus versus large, especially with Foe Seeker and Deadly Onslaught and Stand Your Ground. They're going to be hell of a problem to deal with, although I am popping the Revivification Crystal here to get me a lot more health. Malekith also coming in to do some damage, so Turan has gotten the lead with those explosions here, seeing off my guys as well as some of these archers, and so both of us are going to descend on Indy Pride, seeing if we can get back to his lead. But Krokkar here is being dealt with these 3 lords. I need to keep just rampaging through and doing my damage where I can find it. Over in the back, I do have the Illidan committed here against these guys, just going for points. Looks like I've pulled up ahead of Turan by another 300 points, so this is a really close run fight. And we're hoping that we can slowly piece our way up with the remainder of Indy's army and get to the top. So this is a very close run affair. There we go, going for the weak troops of these archers, but mostly being afraid of being pinned down by forces like these lords, which are going to be going after this Bastille. And take a look at Indy's points, 1,400 right now, but if he kills this giant monster who looks like he's on the verge of dying, that's going to be a lot more points, and it may just seal the deal for him. I am routing at this point, getting off the battlefield, and he gets the last little blow on my guy, so he's at 1,400. Didn't actually do as much as I would have thought. But still, you know, there's nothing we can really do to stop those guys. Here goes Krokkar, 1,400 points for Indy Pride. It's going to see him off, going to chase after him. And actually, one of the things that I believe I'm noticing is it's not a huge deal to kill the Lord, in the sense that you don't get any more points for killing off units. It's done damage over time, so that last extra, 10 points of damage isn't worth anything more if it pushes it over the edge or if it was dealt in the middle of the battle. So that's a little bit about that. But yeah, at this point, all my guys rampaging have been obliterated. Krokkar going down and the Revivification sealed it for me, which now knocks me out of the leaderboard, allows Turan to continue to rampage through with a couple units. Malekith does die, giving Indy Pride the final say here, but Turan is allowed to eke out a bit of an advantage over me, so I was a little bit ticked off about that, but hell, might as well let the Dark Elves and the High Elves fight it out here. Black Guard of Nagarond against these Phoenix Knights. This is really, really cool. Or Phoenix Guard, I should say. But yeah, this Lord combo, that's a really good move here. Great for countering elite units like this and coming in and swarming through. Quick response time as well for free-for-all, which is going to be very important. And yeah, here comes the last of the Druki, trying to fight it out. But yeah, they're going to be seeing off these Black Art Corsairs. Say bye-bye. So that's the end of the battle. Hope you guys did enjoy this one. It was really fun to cast, really fun to play, even more fun to play, I should say, and I really look forward to more of these. The only thing I'll say about free-for-all is I think they do need a little bit more tweaking for some of the rules. I wish there was a little bit more, points given to finishing off certain units as opposed to doing just health damage. I wish there was a little bit of a change when it came to point scoring. It seems like some magic spells don't actually count for points, and things like that. There's a lot of little tweaking. And then another thing is currently I think the map selection is limited to just 3 maps. They really need to put more, and I hope that they freshen it up, because as good as this is, it's going to get old relatively quick. But for the time being, I do have to say I vastly enjoyed my time in this battle, and I hope you did as well. So let's end the replay here. and take a look at some of the final stats. So like I said, the Chameleon Skink's really doing a good job. They're about 800 gold, I believe, to purchase, but well worth it. They did a lot of damage to Malekith, suppressed a lot of troops, and helped pick off a lot of high-value units from Turan's forces. Temple Guard, always good, and if you compare that with any lord that can give them some healing, they're going to be great for sustain. These feral Bastillodons, not super great. Might want to bring them against something like Skaven to chew through their lines without much you know, in the way of perhaps bonus versus large, besides some guys with halberds. But against Dark Elves with their, you know, Blackguard of Nagaron, and then these armor-piercing Dark Shards with shields, yeah, maybe not the best pick. But then again, free-for-all is tough, because you never know who's going to pick a fight with you. So you kind of have to choose a nice, well-rounded army. So I was kind of on the way there. I was neck and neck with Turan, but I think it's the fact that Indy was able to cannibalize Dumon in the early engagement and then turn on us that really turned the tide over on the battle. But yeah, and I kind of like how it gives you the remaining percent in each. And finally, this is so weird. We see the kill counter here, but it's not reflected in any other of the multiplayer matches. So CA, please add that. Anyways, that's about it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Stay tuned for more, and definitely check out the other videos that I'll be putting out about Warhammer 2. See ya.